Hey everybody, it's Pete Glassmeyer. I'm doing my video exam. Due Friday, March 16th, 5 p.m. Gotta be 5 to 10 minutes long. Answer the following questions and give examples from class lectures to support your answers. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with number one, obviously. Explain the process of pre-production. And I'm going to be explaining that from my IMP2 notes, so I hope that they are correct. Alright, process of pre-production. There are a few main parts that you have to do, every project you have to do depending on if it's visual, audio, whatever. So first off is your project proposal, and that is the summary to promote or sell a project. So if you need backers for money, you can be like, alright, here's what the project is, and they'll be like, okay, I support this, let's give you some money. So then the premise is, what will your project be? So your project can be just it doesn't really matter for this example. So let's just say it's an album. So your album is you're gonna make an album, and that's your whole premise. Great. Um, so yeah, the premise is also supposed to explain what its purpose is. Why should people care? I'm making an album because it's going to be about supporting life, whatever. Then after the premise, you have the synopsis. Uh, the synopsis is the story. So from point A to point B, what are you going to get out of what you are providing for these people? Then you have some treatments, detailed summary of the plot, characters, and scene. How do you plan on capturing the material? So what technology are you going to use? So obviously those are important things. Scripts. Scripts can be anything between actual dialogue, and it can also just be like a list of sound effects that you're gonna hear. So like, if you are recording a song, you're planning it out, section A, B, and C, and then in section C, there's little things that happen on every downbeat or something like that. That's something that a script can help map out for you. For music, it may not be always that specific when you're making it, but for sound pieces like on the radio, those things can be a little bit more scripted. So like, if you are doing a school scene on the radio and somewhere in there there's a bell ringing, you can write that in when it's supposed to be done, and it makes it easier. So when you go down, sit down at your DAW to make something happen, you can look through the script and be like, oh, okay, now I just drag that sound right there, boop, done. I don't have to think about it too much because I already did however long ago I wrote the script out for. Production schedule is extremely important because it's the timeline for every phase of what you're going to be doing. And this sounds obvious, but if you don't do that, it can make shooting a pain. So if you know what scene, what shot, what time of day, and where you're going to be when you do it, you can get in and out of there real fast. And when you don't have a lot of time to shoot, that's extremely important. So if you only have one day to shoot something and you need something during the golden hour of time, like when the sun is looking right, that can help you back in post-production so you don't have to do color correcting. Because if you miss that time slot, then you're going to really hate yourself that you didn't make a schedule to make something happen. Storyboard, extremely important because this is actually like what everything will look like. So the scheduling is more for you know where you're supposed to be and when. This is so when you get there, you know how it's supposed to be shot so that you guys can get in and out of there real quick. You don't have to think too much about it. You don't have to do on the fly stuff that you don't really want to do. Then lastly, you have budget. Obviously important. You have to make sure you know where your money is and you know how much you're spending versus how much you should be making. You don't want to be spending a whole lot of money on a movie that will barely break even. That's not what you're going for. Looks like a skipped script breakdown, but that's going through the script with all the equipment that you're going to need. Okay, so that's pre-production. Now, why is pre-production needed? Pre-production is the most important part of all of the production phases, in my opinion, because it allows you to plan out an entire thing and make sure that you know where the pitfalls are before you even start doing anything and see if it's even worth doing in the first place. It's so incredibly important because it allows you to plan and get things done efficiently and cost effectively. So, how does pre-production relate to the other stages of production? Well, it tells you what you're going to need, when you're going to need it, where you're going to need it, and how much it's going to cost. And those things are invaluable. And depending on what you're doing, like I mentioned before with the post-production and colorization and stuff like that, or the, God, what is it? Color treating, that can be so important. If you get a shot wrong at the wrong time of day and this is your only day to shoot, well, you're going to have to fix that. And in post-production, that's what you're going to have to do it in post-production, which isn't always ideal. Sometimes it is, depending on what you're going for, but like, so let's just assume that it's not. So this allows you to get the shot that you actually want. So now the production process, and give an example. Yeah. So number 4. Oh, sorry. Number 3. How does pre-production relate to other stages of production? I think I just kind of went over that. Without it, it can make production harder and pre-production or post-production harder. It allows you to stay on time. It allows you to manage your money, all that jazz. All right. Explain the number 4. Explain the production process. Give an example from a class project. The production process is the actual capturing of what you'll be using for your project. So if you're shooting a movie, it's like the actual shots that you're doing, each camera thing. For video projects, for audio projects, it's like the actual things you're recording. So for our audio project, we wanted to record cars going by and an ambulance. Luckily, an ambulance was going by at the time, and we just held a microphone out to the street, and even though it didn't offer much wind resistance, it ended up being a pretty bad audio take. But that is what production is. It is the actual producing of the sound of the video that you are going to be using and editing with. Now, number 5, explain the process of post-production. Give examples from a class project. Okay, going with the audio thing with the audio recording of the street sounds and the ambulance. Post-production would be taking that and changing it somehow to fit what you want, whether that be audio, whether the loudness, the frequency, the amplitude, compressing it, all that stuff. That is post-production stuff. That is when you put it into the editor and you do something to it to alter it from what it was when you first started out with it. And then eventually putting everything that you got together at those times, all those other sounds, and then making an entire track that from start to finish. So that looks like all the questions. So hopefully it was answered with the right amount of in-depth answering. Anyway, thanks. Have a nice spring break, everybody.